Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary of Magdala. Seeing his mother and the disciple he loved standing near her, Jesus said to his mother, "Woman, this is your son." Then to the disciple he said, "This is your mother." And from that moment, the disciple made a place for her in his home. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Ave Maria. So we gather today in the shadow and the shelter of the cross. We stand with Mary on this memorial of St. Bonaventure, one of the greatest Franciscan saints, but we're celebrating the feast or the Mass of Our Lady of Fatima. We brought back several things from Fatima. Some were taken out and some were brought back, but in the shrine they still have a little missal for the English use in Fatima. And my parishioners gave me this amazing vestment, which you can see has the Immaculate Heart of Mary surrounded by the thorns. And we also have another statue of Our Lady, the other statue of Our Lady of Fatima, with Our Lady coming forward to greet us. But that's not here in church because the pilgrim statue is here today. But betwixt and between the 13th of July, which was one of the great apparitions that she gave us, the third Marian apparition, and the 16th of July, Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And I just want us to rehearse and remember the great events of that 13th of July. During her appearance in July, Our Lady, in answer to Lucy's appeal, promised that in October she would do a great work of public miracle so that all might believe and know who she was. And I think that's an important thing for us to remember with our Catholic faith, with our Christian faith. It is public. Jesus publicly died on the cross, and he showed himself to people publicly after the resurrection. Maybe not to everyone, but there were people, great number of people, who saw him and were prepared to risk their lives to announce that he had died on the cross, but he was alive and well. It is a public proclamation. It's not something for us to be kept private, much as governments and politicians might like us to do these days. It is not a private faith. It is not to be kept to ourselves. And the gospel for today, not the one I read, but the gospel for today, talks about announcing from the rooftops the good news of the kingdom, proclaiming what we've heard in whispers. So let us be encouraged by that we have a public proclamation to make to the world, to our families, to our friends, our colleagues, to our next-door neighbours. Jesus died, but is alive and well. It's not a myth or a fairy tale, because for 2,000 years, people have been prepared to risk their lives and die for love of the Lord and die for the salvation of souls. And that's the important thing for us to recall and remember. Again, the Mother of God told the children to sacrifice themselves for sinners and to say many times, especially when making sacrifice, this prayer. "O my Jesus, I offer this for love of you, for the conversion of poor sinners, and in reparation for all the sins committed against the Immaculate Heart of Mary." A prayer that no doubt we will say time and again throughout today. As she who spoke these words, Our Lady stretched out her hands, and bright rays came forth, which seemed to penetrate into the earth. All at once the ground vanished, and the children found themselves standing on the brink of a sea of fire. As they peered into this dreadful place, the terrified youngsters saw huge numbers of devils and damned souls. The devils resembled hideous animals, each filling the air with despairing shrieks. The damned souls were in their human bodies and seemed to be brown in colour, tumbling about constantly in the flames and screaming with terror. All were on fire within and without their bodies, and neither devils nor damned souls seemed to be able to control their movements. They were tossing about in the flames like fiery coals in a furnace. There was never any instance of peace or freedom from pain. Our Lady is reminding us, of course, that hell is a real place, and the world seems to have forgotten that. And people really seem to go there, really do go there, and that too is a forgotten truth in the world today. Looking with compassion at the pale and trembling little ones, Our Lady spoke to them. You have seen hell, where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish in the world the devotion to my Immaculate Heart. If people do what I tell them, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. The war is going to end. First World War was at that time. But if people do not stop offending God, another and worse one will begin in the reign of Pope Pius XI. When you shall see a night illuminated by an unknown light, and that was January the 25th, 1938, know that this is the great sign that God gives you, that he is going to punish the world for its many crimes by means of war, hunger, and persecution of the Church and of the Holy Father. To prevent this, I shall come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the five first Saturdays. If my requests are granted, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, she will scatter her errors throughout the world, provoking wars and persecutions of the Church. The good will be martyred, the Holy Father will have much to suffer, and various nations will be destroyed. But in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me. Russia will be converted, and a certain period of peace will be granted to the world. The Lady asked that this message be kept secret until she gave permission for it to be revealed. And it was revealed completely in the year 2000, and a commentary written by the then Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger. It's not a threat, but a loving advice, a loving warning out of a heart on fire for aching humanity. I hope you don't mind me repeating those words, but it's good for us to remember the message of Fatima and to repeat it in the world today. We've had World War II and a number of others besides, and we've seen the whole world and Russia entrusted, consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary by Pope John Paul II. And we've seen the Iron Curtain and the Berlin Wall pulled down. We've experienced the continual spread of Russia's errors into the mainstream of politics and lifestyles of many, still to this day, especially in the West. And so the prophetic mission of Fatima is still not complete. It is still not finished. And Pope Benedict said that. Our mission continues, and that is to proclaim from the rooftops, through the internet, through blogs, through word of mouth, through whatever means available, like St. Maximilian Kolbe, who always went for the max, didn't he? Who always went to the optimum. We are proclaiming the mission of Fatima still today, which is the love, the mercy, and the compassion of God, with daily rosaries for peace in the world, in our nations, in our families, for daily sacrifices of prayers for sinners, and the first 5 Saturdays, saving souls, because that's why we're here, for our loved ones, and for our enemies, and for those many who are unknown to us, who need our prayers and petitions for their salvation. And maybe we don't do it with fear and trembling, but with a deep fear of offending God, who is love and goodness and beauty and truth itself, and out of a real deep reverence, respect and love for God who loved us into life, who loved every single creature, every single human being into life. For fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And we stand here under the sign of the cross, and together with Mary our Mother, and we take shelter in his shade, in the shade of his sign of love and welcome, with his arms wide open to embrace us, saying to us again and again, come to me. And our Mother Mary, she draws us ever closer to her Son's fiery, passionate, sacred heart, pierced and broken open with love for us. And it is him we receive in the Eucharist at this Mass today. All of his life, all of his love, his body, blood, soul and divinity, crucified but now risen from the dead, giving us all of himself. So with this in our hearts and minds, may we stand and offer our prayers and petitions to the God who loves us more than we can imagine. So where we stand with Mary, the Most Holy Virgin and Mary, let us present our prayers to God our Father, who gave us the mother of his Son to be our mother also.